Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and as you can see, today is a super exciting day because it is the first Dino Rivals to finally hit my channel. Well, I guess it's not really finally, because these guys actually haven't been out on shelves for very long. It's been a few weeks, but not like some of my other dinosaurs that I had a hard time finding, like the Legacy Gallimimus. But regardless, I was able to actually score these just a few days ago, and I am really excited about it to finally have them now here in my hands. A little tidbit of information for you guys, if anybody is out looking for them, as far as the cases of these new Dino Rivals figures go, with the Attack Pack series anyway, in the cases, they come in a set of 2 Delta, 2 Dracorex, and only 1 of this Rhamphorhynchus and 1 of the Protoceratops. So if you are in a store and you are trying to decide which one you want to get, I would recommend, if you don't already have them and you do want them, to pick up the Rhamphorhynchus or the Protoceratops before you pick up the other 2 if you don't have enough for all of them, simply because the Rhamphorhynchus and the Protoceratops are going to be probably a little less common compared to the Dracorex and Delta Velociraptor figure. Just decided that maybe you guys would want to know that and pass that news along to you guys. But regardless, as you can see, I actually have not even opened these up, so I decided to wait until I actually got this video up to look at them for the very first time out of the package with you guys. So without further ado, let's get this sucker open. Now I can tell you guys right off the bat, one thing that I definitely don't like about these newer figures is the fact that you get a card is quite awesome. But what is not awesome is the fact that this card is actually taped to the inside of the box. So if you do want to use this type of a box here as maybe a backdrop, which is going to be tough because you have to tear this stuff off, but honestly, you're really going to mess it up because you have to actually pull this tape off to disconnect the card. So that is a little bit of an unfortunate circumstance, but luckily it didn't tear the card, or at least not on this one. So that is cool, at least, I guess, because I really don't save too many of the boxes. Some of them I do, but most I don't. But you can see that the actual Rhamphorhynchus card is quite cool and has a nice picture there that we've got drawn up of it, and then gives you some little stats on the figure. So that's really awesome that they've decided to start including this with these newer figures. As far as the actual Rhamphorhynchus, here it is finally. I get to look at it, and it's actually pretty cool. It's much better than I expected it to be, honestly, looking at it at first glance. But let's get a closer look. Honestly, it'll help me really take the whole thing in and decide whether it's a nice looking figure or not. Now, immediately starting up here at the head sculpt, which is one of the things that I was the most concerned about, was the overall head sculpt with these obnoxious looking teeth that we saw in the promotional pictures. But as ugly as those teeth are, Rhamphorhynchus does have those teeth, and I don't really know of any other possible way that they could have really included the classic Rhamphorhynchus teeth in a figure like this without making them very sharp and pointy and something that could injure children. So honestly, I definitely think that it still looks really, really good, even though the teeth are a little strange looking. But it appears as though the mouth doesn't close all the way, but you can see that the jaw kind of comes up here straight but then curves a little bit, which causes the mouth to not really close perfectly. But it doesn't look bad or anything. It looks a little weird, like maybe he's trying to blow me a kiss or something. But regardless, it still looks okay, I guess. And the teeth aren't an absolutely severe distraction for me. It could have definitely been better, I think. But honestly, again, I don't really know how they could have made it any better, really, with a figure like this that kids are going to be playing with, and something that they wouldn't be able to get hurt with. Looking at the actual head sculpt, it's not really quite as highly detailed, in my opinion, as some of the other figures that they've released, like the Pteranodon and the Dimorphodon as far as pterosaurs go. Up here on the top of the head, there is definitely some very, very nice sculpt work. It really looks beautiful up on the top of the head, but if you get to the beak, it looks like there's some decent detail, but it's not too much, and around the eye looks pretty good, but nothing overly amazing that I'm going to be blown away with. The eye is painted pretty nicely, and it's painted fairly nicely on both sides. You can see a little bit of the paint has run down onto the inner part of like the detail around the eye, but it's not terrible. It still looks pretty good and is much better than a lot of the other figures that they've released as far as eye defects go. Looking at the back, you can see that the sculpt organ detail on the back is really quite nice. There is definitely a significant amount of detail there that has been included, and I like the way that the arms come out here, and they are this same coloration as the rest of the body, but they kind of taper off to the same coloration as the wings. I think that that actually looks pretty cool, and kind of gives it a little variation to its color, which is something I definitely appreciate as well. And the overall detail on the actual wings is really nice, similar to what you've seen on all of the other pterosaurs as far as the overall sculpting of the wings go. But it really looks beautiful. As I turn it, you can see there is just a ton of sculpt and detail that has been put into it. And overall, it's just basically this greenish coloration with maybe this creamy linen type coloration that kind of runs up here onto the wing here and there. But overall, that does look pretty good, and I really like the fact that they have included some of the skin here from the wing type of that same skin from the wings here in between the legs. I think that that looks very cool. The feet look like they are sculpted pretty nicely as well. Nothing to complain about there. Again, no paint on the nails, but I really didn't expect that. And then when you get out to the tail looks very good as well. Even the actual whole tail leading out to the end of the tail looks pretty good as well with the sculpt work, so that also looks quite good. And then we come down here to the underside. Very nice sculpt work and detail all over the place. I really think that it looks very good. There is the Jurassic Facts code for anybody that is interested in adding this dinosaur to your collection. Well, I mean, it's not a dinosaur, but adding this Rhamphorhynchus pterosaur to your collection. My mistake, I apologize. And again, the wing looks very good on this side as well. So overall, the sculpting of the figure is really not bad at all. Again, the head here with the teeth is a little disheartening, but it could be a lot worse. The inside of the mouth is sculpted pretty nicely, and you can see that the only real coloration that has been applied on the inside is to the tongue, but the tongue looks pretty good. Overall, it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be, but it's definitely not my favorite pterosaur. As far as articulation goes, as I mentioned, the jaw is articulated. That actually can go really wide, and it kind of gives it a pretty cool appearance once it's like that. Gives you a much better look at the inside of the mouth. But the jaw is actually, it's very stiff, honestly. But same with the wings, actually. When I was moving the wings, they're really stiff. Compared to the Pteranodon and the Dimorphodon, they were much easier to move. And honestly, I think it has to do with this. It's kind of getting stuck on the legs. So you see now I got it around. Now it might move a little better. Yeah, a little bit better, but then when it comes back down, it kind of tends to get a little stiff in the wing area. So again, something to be forewarned about. The legs are actually articulated as well, so you can put it in a standing position, but I think you'd have to probably put the wings down a little bit. You can get him to stand kind of, actually his feet aren't even touching the ground, but it sort of appears as though he's standing. So the legs are articulated though, like I said, so you can move the legs however you would like. And the neck, of course, goes up and down, and then it can also swivel right where it's connected to like the shoulder blade, so you can completely swivel that around. The tail is a little bit flexible, but not anything really flexible. It's nothing like the Dimorphodons where their tails were very flexible, but it does bend a little bit. As far as the size goes, from the head to the tail, you're looking at about 5 inches or just about 13 centimeters. And if we go for a wingspan, we're looking at about 7.25, a little over 7.25, almost 7.5, or about 18.5, almost 19 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Peppo T-Rex, who you can see is just significantly larger than this smaller Rhamphorhynchus, but I would like to imagine that this Rhamphorhynchus would not be even remotely close to the size of a T-Rex. Regardless of the fact that they are not in scale to each other, this should give you a pretty good idea of the size of the actual Rhamphorhynchus. So this Rhamphorhynchus is definitely pretty cool. Not my favorite figure from the Fallen Kingdom line, that's definitely for sure, but it's not the worst. It looks pretty cool. Overall, there are, like I said, some pretty stiff joints like the wings. Actually, the wings can also swivel. I didn't even point that out before. But the wings are definitely a little stiff. The legs work pretty smoothly. They work fine. but the jaw is also pretty stiff as well. But either way, it's still nothing really to complain about, and it is very nice looking overall. I definitely dig the fact that they actually went through the trouble of making a Rhamphorhynchus, as I don't think we've ever had one before in a Jurassic line. So any kind of new species that we will be including in the Jurassic World line is exciting for me, and it's very cool to add yet another pterosaur to the collection of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom toy line pterosaurs by Mattel. And this is actually the third. Now we've got the Pteranodon, numerous Pteranodons, numerous Dimorphodons. We now have this Rhamphorhynchus. We also have a Tapejara coming out, and a Quetzalcoatlus at some point as well. So we will have quite the pterosaur collection from the Jurassic World toy line when we are all said and done. So very cool to add yet another pterosaur to this toy line, and like I said, it's not that bad. Definitely not my favorite, but again, it's still not a bad entry, and I definitely dig it quite a bit. So if you want to purchase one for yourself, honestly, you're probably just going to have to search your local Walmart, and I'm sure they'll also be coming into stock in Target at any point now too. My Walmart is almost always last to get everything, so the fact that I was able to find these and score these in my Walmart is a good sign that almost all of you should have them in Walmarts near you. If not now, very, very soon. So keep checking your local Walmart. Happy hunting, guys, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.